Still, it is a dangerous hurricane with maximum sustained winds at 115 miles per hour. But I know what everybody at home wants to see is the projected path, that cone, and what the shape of it is looking like at this point.
Right. I was just looking at the information from the Hurricane Center here. So what's happened is what we expected happened. The National Hurricane Center has moved the cone a little to the right. So more of the possible tracks now are offshore of Florida. So if you look at the middle of the cone there, I'd say it's about 40-some% offshore and 40 or some percent over. As far as we're concerned, it's lifted a little bit to the north. But this is related to, again, this is such a slow storm. Look, here we are Sunday evening. It's approaching the Bahamas. Monday evening, the center of it now. This is not the winds, the outer winds, the center of it. Monday evening, it's just passing the Bahamas. So those poor folks in the northern Bahamas are just going to get assaulted there by that. And then it is Tuesday evening, and it's just then to the Florida coast. So this is a slog here that we're going to be for at least a couple days on the fringe of. So if the storm is, let's say the storm is so big, something like that, you see, if you take that same one over here, that's 2 whole days, and we're still in it, which I know you've been talking about.
We'll be feeling the wind, so that is for sure. Still forecast to intensify to a Category 4, so get stronger as it's approaching the northwest Bahamas. And by the way, they're now under a hurricane warning, so we're expecting hurricane conditions there.
But nothing for Florida yet, right?
Let me check.
Okay, and the thing is that because it's moving so slowly, remember the hurricane watches come out 2 days before the wind is going to start. The winds of 40 miles an hour or so.
Right.
So because it's moving so slowly, and the winds are not arriving until sometime in the Sunday night, Monday-ish time frame, there's still time to do that in terms of putting up watches. But look at this. They've got a 140-mile-an-hour hurricane at the coast. Now, if you look at the center of their cone, north of the Palm Beaches, this is the Treasure Coast here. So this is up around Fort Pierce-ish in terms of the center of the cone, right? And so that, and remember that the Gulf Stream goes through here. So if you were around for Hurricane Andrew came across the Bahamas and then hit the Gulf Stream and exploded into a Category 5. So the Gulf Stream is this ultra deep source of hurricane fuel and warm water. And of course, this has got to go over the Gulf Stream if it's going to get to Florida. And of course, we all hope that it takes one of these other tracks, which is possible, but certainly not certain. All right, let's see what the other information is here. We're seeing this all together.
We are.
Look at the steady intensification.
Yeah, and headed right for the northwest Bahamas. As I mentioned, they're under the hurricane warning. Nothing for Florida at this point, but definitely we're still paying attention. So the Bahamas getting ready there for the wind, the rain, storm surge as well.
Yes, very dangerous in northern Bahamas, but there's some hope, but they just can't. They have to plan. They have to go into full, absolute, ultimate hurricane preparation there in that kind of situation. And then here are the latest numbers.
Maximum sustained winds at 115 miles per hour, so not much change with that. Pressure still at 970 millibars, moving west-northwest at 9 miles per hour.
So the bottom line for South Florida is we are still in the cone, but we have this guarded optimism this afternoon because all of the computer models want to turn the storm to the north and give us the fringe of it. That doesn't mean we're not going to have to deal with it, but that means that if that all happens, anything like they say, we're not going to have a Category 4 hurricane coming through here. But we just, as long as we're in this error, this zone of error here, we have to maintain our vigilance, stay in hurricane mode. If we continue this way, Betty, we're going to get into this narrow part of the cone tomorrow, and we ought to start seeing that lift if this trend continues.
But we want to remind everyone that impacts can be felt outside the cone. So
right, impacts are still outside the cone. It's not, nothing's going to happen that we're not going to feel it, right?
Want to drive that
home. We're going to
home.
know it's there. It's going to disrupt your Monday and into Tuesday. But that's a different thing than having a Category 4 hurricane come right down the Dade-Broward line.
We'll be right back.
Okay.